Okay, so now, if you're keeping up with this story, I've got check statements in my hand. One's a master account, one's my mother's account. One was close to the big number everybody wants. One has $10,000 in it. By the time I've never seen these check statements before. I just know where it started at a year beforehand. When I get statements to both accounts, they're not far from each other. This one has like 10,000 and some change for my mother. This one here does not even have $20,000 in it. So somewhere there's about $750,000 that's been dispersed. Along with those check statements, I get to see that like all of the checks that I've cut for mom, medical equipment stuff for the little place in Dunn, I can't remember the name of it, American or Family Health, whatever it is. And then I start seeing unbelievable amount of checks in these last 2 months. Everybody in the family, the adults being the actual inheritors, the heirs, their kids, and I think even some grandkids, like young grandkids. Everybody had gotten a check except a very few people. I never got a check out of it. My Uncle Larry lives like 30 minutes away. None of his kids ever got a check out of it. And other than that, the rest of the family had been having a field day. There was one check in there cut for over $500,000 to some guy with a Charlotte address. It's weird. Now, at this time, I'm in a weird spot. I have information, and even though the family has some low-level gripes about what's taking so long, no one knows this happened. It's just me. So I think about it, and it tears my nerves up because I saw how bad my grandparents had pinched pennies and sacrificed for the benefit of their kids to have a better life, and now it's looking like all that's gone. So the following Monday, me and David always hung out on a Monday. It's the end of the day. His business is closed. We're just sitting on a tailgate drinking a beer together, talking about life. And man, I've got to figure out a way. How do I bring this up and keep him calm? So I say, hey man, let's talk for a second about some real stuff. He's like, what you got, buddy? What you got? I said, I don't know how to say this, but I know. He's like, you know what? I was like, I know what you don't think anybody else knows. And he looks at me and he says, how do you know this? And I said, well, I hadn't gotten a check statement from mom for the last 2 months, so I went to the bank to get a check statement, and they inadvertently gave me both check statements. He snaps on me instantly. Tells me if I ever step foot back on the property, I'm going to be charged with trespassing. So I said, hey man, my mom lives here, you can't do this. And he's like, nope, I'm the trustee, and what I say goes. I'll call the law right now and prove you different. And legally, he's correct. So now I realize I'm in a bad spot, and it's pretty bad. It's gotten worse. So I have to now figure out how to fix this mess. I contact people that I trust financially. I'm not going to say names, but so I'm basically instructed by people with law degrees to go to the courthouse and tell the probate or whatever that we had somebody abscond the trust, and legal terms, they stole money out of it. So that creates its own issues, and I'm hiring lawyers and trying to figure out what's going on. I have to, on my own, with the help of another family member that does accounting, do a forensic accounting on everything. So once I get the county involved, then they subpoena to get the check records from a year past on the check statements, and I have to build everything as it is. I get this huge whiteboard. It took a trailer to haul it. It was monstrous. It was as big as the blackboards we had in school, like a whole wall. On one part of the board, I have to have all of the money and how it was supposed to go. Then I have to, on this other side of the board, I have to take the actual money and how it was distributed. Then you have to figure out what did everybody get, because people didn't get stuff. You know, some things are paid to this person, some things are paid on behalf of my mother with her real cost, and that she should be, that money should be accounted for. It, you know, and you have to figure out how much is owed to each person. So now the family is truly mad. Everybody's squabbling. I'm not living there, but it's a bad place to be. Then I get the news that David didn't wake up one morning. He passed away in the middle of the night. I'm sure it was stress, but so it's just bad. Now, when we're doing the forensic accounting, we also have to figure out what this $500,000 check went to in Charlotte. The $500,000 check in Charlotte went to a guy to settle IRS debt. And we're confused. Why is there IRS debt? Well, we learned that for the last 10 plus years, he wasn't paying his employee withholding tax on the company. He was taking it out of the people's checks, just wasn't quite sending the check off to the federal government. So there's really big issue there. When he got put in charge of the money, his first thing was, if I can pay the IRS off, it'll stop all of the actions and coming after me, and I'll fix everything later. Well, the IRS had been trying to get their stuff for 10 years. The business was on my grandmother's land. To protect herself and the company being run by a child, she had herself on the articles of incorporation for the company. So now she legally owns part of that company. She dies, there's an estate to be settled. The IRS sees this, and they reach out and put a blanket lien on the entire farm. No one can get anything until the IRS is dealt with, which can't really blame them. They've asked for 10 years for their money. Now they'll get somebody's attention. So, on top of all this other stuff to deal with the family, and how to deal with my mother being disabled, and the financials of the inheritance and her being disabled, I now have to figure out how to get the IRS dealt with. So I'm meeting with lawyers. I'm spending massive amounts of money personally, not by the family, because my whole intent purpose was to be able to settle everything Grandma and Grandpa had as they wanted it. Part of me wanted to challenge to see if I could fix it, and I knew that the challenge of fixing it was also going to perform my last good deed I could do for the two people that had done the most for me. So this story it'll go as far as I want it to be told, as I want to tell it. But in the end, David had a life insurance policy that settles off the IRS, and we find a way to get everything settled and the land put in anybody's name that's supposed to be put into. So, but it destroys the family between the inheritance fights and children of heirs fighting and everything else. It just destroys it. The purpose of this story is to just tell another story of somebody desperate that makes all the wrong decisions. It also is kind of a warning. If you feel you have worked hard enough to acquire something, and your purpose of acquiring it is to leave it to a child, spend the money, go visit with a probate lawyer, put your wishes in paper. For parents that don't want to face the hard challenge of being fair with their kids, imagine watching your kids, and I believe like heaven, we can look down. I do believe there's times my grandma looks down on me. I hope everybody has that same thought, but if it's just me, so be it. It's my world and it's my story, and that's how I'm going to tell it. But I would hate to know one day I'm looking down and my children are doing nothing but fighting amongst themselves instead of possibly enjoying what I worked hard for, or what I sacrificed my own time and money for them. So I would definitely plan out what I want my kids to get, how they get it, and what they're to do with it. Let the fight be with them and you, not them and their siblings. I don't know how else to put that. So just another crazy story of money, and I hate it. I hate money. We all got to have it, but it's so not what we think it is. So, anyway, see you next time.